Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video tutorial. This will be a continuation of the previous board last week. It is also from Deception and Countermeasures in the Xiangqi opening by Master Wenqing and Grandmaster Zhang. In the previous board, we were discussing the central cannon versus the Mandarin duck cannons with the 7th pawn advancement. Now in this board, we will be discussing the 3rd pawn advancement. So without further ado, let us dive right into the game. Now, a word of caution, because the variations are very complicated, I've been forced to break the video down into several parts. Otherwise, this video will be well over 1 hour alone. So please stay tuned for the later installments of the video. Okay, central cannon. And in this variation, black would play p3 plus 1 instead of p7 plus 1 as discussed in the previous board. Now, in the early beginnings, p7 plus 1 was played, and this would be considered to be an provision. Okay, what are the advantages of this move over p7 plus 1? For the first advantage, black can avoid red playing this cannon as a riverbank cannon as shown in the previous video. And because the pawn had been pushed, now red will be denied the opportunity to play c8 plus 2 followed by c8 equals to 7. And another advantage is for the Mandarin duck cannons, black would have to play c2 minus 1, which is one of its most important defining moves. With p3 plus 1, after black played c2 minus 1, the red chariot over here would be forced to be fixed at the riverbank rank because p7 because black cannot play p7 plus 1, and by this the authors meant that if p3 plus 1 were played, red would usually have to play p3 plus 1, and if the red chariot were here, it would not be as feasible. So these are two of the main advantages of this opening. And if red did not want to push the chariot to the riverbank and wanted to go for the pawn rank chariot, there will be the red chariot will now be deep into black's territory, and black would have many chances to exploit and attack this red chariot, which is one of the main ideas behind the Mandarin duck cannons. Now, in this variation, usually R1 is equals to 2 is still played. Now, this is a move that is beyond reproach. It's a natural thing to do. It's what comes after that defines how red should counter the Mandarin duck cannons. So, in the book, the author suggested playing h8 plus 9 as a possible counter, so that the chariot would not be attacked in this manner. So if h8 plus 9 were played, you can see there's so many variations. Black will continue with c2 minus 1. It would not be a good idea to place. Black can also play c8 equals to 9, but that would mean that he would not be able to play the Mandarin duck cannons anymore because red would not attack. It would not be a good idea to protect the house anymore. And this would, the position on the board would transposition back to one of the common orthodox openings, by red will use the 5-7 cannons without pushing the pawn against black's screen house defense with the pawn advancement variation. At this point, red will still have a small but significant advantage. So c2 minus 1, if black insisted on going for the Mandarin duck cannons, red would now target the horse, protecting the horse, and red would now start to attack with this move. By sacrificing the pawn, red can destroy black's intentions of using the right cannon to attack the chariot, as we shall see. So red will now play r1 equals to 2 to threaten the cannon. Now if black can only counter in this manner, he cannot play r9 plus 2, otherwise red would gain material. So that is why black would be forced to play h8 plus 6. But in doing so, the development of this cannon will become a major issue. It cannot traverse across the board and the chariot will be safe. Now, red would not have to worry about this pawn because it cannot advance as the horse would be guiding this intersection. And if it traversed, it will waste another move, which is very critical in the opening phase. So red would now continue to attack the cannon. And as can be seen, black's formation is becoming more and more awkward. Now, black tries to counter, and the black horse is played here. It would not be a good idea to play h4 minus 3 because now red will simply attack the other horse. And red would have a hard time dealing. Black would have a hard time dealing with this situation. Now, if black moved the horse over here, again it will be. I'll show you. As it move over here, this will be a fork, and black would lose material. So that is why h4 plus 2 has to be played. And red will move the cannon to safety. As can be seen, black's formation is very awkward, and red would have the upper hand. If the black horse captured the red horse, black would have wasted 1, 2, 3, 4 moves just to capture a red horse that has only made one move. So this will result in a further loss of initiative. So red would have a significant upper hand if this were to happen. And that is why the author suggested h8 plus 9 as a viable option. But playing r1 equals to 2 is also considered to be okay because this would actually prevent black from playing some of the sandwich horse defense variation or screen horse defense variation, and it will actually force black to fix and play the Mandarin duck cannons. And if red knows this opening system well, it will be beneficial instead. So in this board, black does play the Mandarin duck cannons with a third pawn advancement variation. Now at this point, there are 4 major variations that are discussed in the book. Now there are 4 major variations, which are h8 plus 9, p3 plus 1, c8 plus 2, and c8 equals to 6. Now, as the content, there are simply too many variations and sub-variations. I've broken down the video into a few installments. Now, in the book, it was mentioned that red should not play c8 equals to 7 at this point. It would be destined to fail. The language was quite strong in the book. Okay, black would counter with e7 plus 1. Red would charge the pawn forward, thinking that he could gain material, but red forgot that he had not moved the horse, so black would simply capture the cannon. And now black would have seized the initiative and control the situation and also gain a pawn that crossed the river. So black would have now seized the initiative in the situation. Now for beginners, let's say after trading, if red captured the horse, all hell will break loose after black captured the elephant for a check. Another check, and the horse cannot move. It will be a double cannon checkmate. So red will be in all sorts of trouble, and it will just be a matter of time before red fell, because now the chariot will also come out and it will be a vicious flank attack. So that is why I'll erase this variation. That's why c8 equals to 7 is destined to fail and should never be considered to be an option in this position. Okay, for this video, I'll cover variation 1 and hopefully variation 2 if the video is not too long. So c8 in the variation 1, red will play h8 plus 9, preparing to attack as seen in similar variations just now. Black will go for the Mandarin duck cannons, and red will play r2 plus 4 as mentioned earlier to the riverbank, because if it pushed too deep to the pawn rank, this chariot will be vulnerable to attacks by black's cannons, chariots and horse, protecting the consolidating the center and also allowing the black horse to be developed. Now red would develop his other chariot to try to get the chariots into action as fast as possible. And at this point in time, black would play p7 plus 1 to limit the development of the red horse. Now red would play r9 equals to 6 for the cross palace rank chariot. Now there is a difference between playing r9 equals to 4 and r9 equals to 6, because if r9 was equals to 6 were played, black would immediately start to attack this flank. Now, because the chariot was over here, if black tried to move to the third rank, black would simply defend with the advisors and red would be in deep trouble. Let's say if red continued with p9 plus 1, and black would now develop his horse as a proper horse, and there are many possibilities as shown in the previous video. Black could play h3 plus 8, attempting a pseudo sacrifice, and followed by c3 equals to 2, etc, etc. And somehow the efficiency of the chariot at this point is much weaker or less efficient than if you were played r9 equals to 4, and that is why r9 equals to 4 should be played. Now, after black played r9 equals to 4, it would threaten the development of this horse as an elephant eye horse. So it is imperative for black to play c2 equals to 8 to attack the chariot now. He cannot take his time or attempt a similar attack just now, because the chariot would now be red can play r4 plus 6 to threaten the chariot over here to gain material. So let's say if red played black countered with c7 plus 1, whereby the cannon is protected by the horse, red would simply retreat his chariot, and as can be seen, although red had wasted one move, black's entire left flank would be congested and very vulnerable to attacks by red. Red would have the superior advantage in terms of position. And the issue of the development of this chariot will be, if this chariot and the horse will be a big headache for black. So that is why after r9 plus 4, red cannot attack with c2 equals 7, but he must attack with c2 equals to 8 to try to create some space. Now since the chariot was attacked, red moved the chariot to command the other rib file. Red will now have commanded both the rib files, and this is a very important line to control in Xiangqi, especially in the opening. And black would try to maneuver his material after wasting one move. This move is made to try to create more possibilities, as black is prepared to play c8 equals to 6 to attack this chariot. Now at this point, one might wonder, could black have developed his other chariot with, say, r1 equals to 2 for the file chariot? The answer would be no, because red could simply play c8 plus 2 or c8 equals to 7. So for example, red could play c8 plus 2. This would be a threatening move, because the cannon would always be prepared to maneuver to this file to attack the black chariot. and this will be a discovered attack. And as for red could simply play p9 plus 1 to protect the cannon and move his chariot away. Now another option would be to simply play c8 equals to 7, the 5-7 cannons. We will have a very nice and powerful and balanced formation available, and black will still have to find ways to try to decongest his left flank, which is one of the congenital weaknesses of the Mandarin duck cannons. So that is why r1 equals to 2 is not a good idea. Instead, it is advocated that black plays c8 equals to 6, and black could develop his right chariot as a rank chariot if need be. So p9 plus 1, attacking the chariot, and after some maneuvering, neither colors have pushed any piece across the river. Black would have a very stable formation. Red might still have a slight advantage, but the battle or the real confrontation would happen much later in the game. Black's formation is very stable. He will be able to counter any threats by red at this point in time. So for example, if red played this move, black would counter in this manner, etc. So this is variation A, whereby red would play h8 plus 9 to develop his horse as an edge horse. So a short recap. C2 minus 1, R2 plus 4. Red will develop his left chariot, and there's a little bit of nifty maneuvering by both colors at this point. 9 equals to 4 is critical, so is C2 equals to 8. 2 equals to 6, and black will try to maneuver and make some space with minus C equals to 8. And black has a respectable and stable formation. So because of the time constraint, I'll finish this video after discussing variation A and also why C8 equals to 7 is destined to fail. So I hope you have enjoyed this short video. If you like the work that I've been doing, please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thank you.